Welcome to We Learn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 24 of the subject Modern Indian Political Thought, and the chapter is Subhash Chandra Bose. Let's see the topics to be covered. Introduction, the basic concepts of Subhash's political philosophy, militant nationalism and patriotism, Bose's view on nation building, Swadeshi and nationalism, the concept of freedom, Bose's conception of socialism, special change, the technique of national and social revolution, guerrilla warfare, Bose and Fascism. Now, the early life. Subhash Chandra Bose was born on January 23, 1887 at Cuttack. As a sensitive child, he perceived the subtle discrimination Indians had to suffer at the hands of the British. A resentment developed against the British, with whom he came in contact as a pupil in his school in Orissa. His activities. In 1921, he met Gandhi after reaching India and participated in the non-cooperation movement. In the meantime, he came in contact with C.R. Das and became his disciple. So this was about his early life. He was a sensitive child and he could sense the discrimination Indians had to suffer at the hands of the Britishers, and due to this discrimination, a resentment had developed towards the British, against the British, and that was all about his activities and early life. The basic concepts of Bose's political philosophy, idea of history. Subhash interpreted Indian history and asserted that it has to be recorded not in decades or in centuries but in the thousands. India has passed through various vicissitudes of fortune. Neither the individual nor the nation can have an uninterrupted career or progress and prosperity. So neither the individual nor the nation can have uninterrupted career or progress. The same is true for India, which has always been characterized by a very high level of culture and civilization. So India was also characterized by a very high level of culture, civilization, and moral values. So India has passed through various vicissitudes of fortune, various centuries, various stages of fortune. Militant nationalism and patriotism. Subhash angered that a spirit of militant nationalism is essential to rejuvenate Indians to achieving freedom. Subhash believed in the non-violent path and mobilization of the people for the cause of freedom. So militant nationalism have to be developed in the people. A non-violent path has to be developed in the people to attain freedom, to attain independence. It is essential to rejuvenate Indians to achieve their independence. That is why he supported the non-cooperation and civil disobedience movement, but its withdrawal at a crucial moment on the pretext of violence and opportunist compromise was severely criticized by him. He participated in the non-cooperation and civil disobedience movement, where in non-cooperation it was said that the people would not cooperate with the government's policies and other laws, and whatever laws and policies it gave, they would not obey to it. They would pay disobedience to it, and that would be non-violent. But after that, at a crucial moment, the movements were withdrawn because of the charges of violence and opportunist compromise, and that was severely criticized by him. He wrote, if our policy had been one of uncompromising militancy, the Bardoli surrender of 1922 never would have taken place, nor would the Delhi Pact of March 1931, when the situation was opportune. Bose's view on nation building. For Bose, a nation is not there merely to satisfy narrow selfish ends. Addressing the students of the central provinces at Amravati and Berar, he said, I have already said that we shall have to change some of our existing ideas of values with regard to good and evil. So for Bose, a nation is not merely to satisfy narrow selfish ends. It is for wider people's welfare, not for one or two individuals' welfare or end. It is for everyone. Nation or state is for everyone. And he said that the existing ideas of values have to be changed with regard to the notions of good, bad, good or evil. So, addressing the students of the central provinces, he said, I have already said that we shall have to change some of our existing ideas of values. And he also advocated the need of a complete overhauling and recasting of the present stereotyped mode of existence, which in turn would lead to genuine national solidarity and would give India a position of glory. He said that the present system, the present mode of system with evils and all evil and unfair policies, unjust policies and laws, that has to be overhauled, that has to be changed fully with the of the present stereotyped mode of existence where one person or one party was given more freedom as compared to the others, and where the Britishers were taking out policies and situations according to their own welfare or according to their own profit. The Britishers were taking out the Britishers were giving out policies and measures favorable to them, which in turn, and if that system would be removed, that would lead to the national glory of India, and that would give national solidarity and unity to India. For him, life, only when inspired above the ordinary by some greater and nobler ideals, has value or significance. So for him, life, when inspired by above the ordinary and for some greater good and nobler ideals and values, only then life has value or importance or significance. Swadeshi and nationalism. Nationalism is not only a political movement but ethical as well, according to Bose. Its ethical aspect is reflected in the adoption of Swadeshi, which has a common cause to be practiced religiously. Because when one buys an indigenous product, even though of the worst quality and on higher price, he helps the nation. So nationalism was a political movement. Everyone knew that nationalism was a political movement, but it had ethical component as well. It had its ethicality in it as well, because when Swadeshi goods, when one's own country's goods are used and adopted or practiced this concept, then the help of the nation is there, because even when one buys indigenous product or the country's own product at a higher price or of the less or of the inferior quality, he or she is helping the nation in some way or the other. Swadeshi is better than the protection of the native industry. So Swadeshi is better when one is buying goods and services from one's own place than the protection of the native industry. Native industry's protection was far lower than the buying of the clothes or goods which are indigenous, because native industry too contained Britishers' products. Thus, Swadeshi combines sacrifice for the nation and ensures improvement in the indigenous industry. Swadeshi's main principles were based on sacrifice to be done for the nation and also improving the indigenous industry, one's own industry improvements, and bringing in more changes and developments. The concept of freedom. Overthrowing the foreign yoke, nevertheless, was the immediate task towards the ideal of achievement of freedom, which Bose made clear in his address to the students at Lahore in October 1929. So, overthrowing the foreign rule, overthrowing the foreign yoke, nevertheless, was an immediate task towards the government, towards the ideal of achieving India's independence. He said that the ideal we have to hold up is an ideal which will galvanize our whole life. Ideal or moral values or ethics that has to be done in the manner that will galvanize our whole life, that will change, that will give a new direction to our life. Those ideals and those moral values need to be practiced. That ideal is freedom. But freedom is a word which has varied connotations. For Bose, freedom is an all-round freedom, where freedom of the individual is given and where freedom of every aspect is there. That is freedom for the individual as well as for the society, freedom for the rich as well as for the poor, freedom for men as well as women, freedom for all individuals and for all classes. So where freedom is given to every person, to the society, to the men, women, for all individuals, for all classes, for everyone, only then that ideal is known as freedom, where when it is practiced in the practical sense of the term. Bose's conception of socialism. Subhash Chandra Bose was a believer in socialism. He asserted that he wanted a socialist republic of India. So Subhash Chandra Bose was a believer in socialism, wherein he was a believer in the societal welfare, and where the means or the goods of production are in the hands of the society. However, his concept of socialism was different from that of others, and he called it Indian socialism. Addressing Bharatiya Naujawan Sabha in 1931, he said, "If we undertake a comparative analysis of different social and political ideals that have inspired human endeavor and activity throughout the ages, we shall arrive at certain common principles that should form the basis of our collective life. These are justice, equality, freedom, discipline, and love." Justice, equality, freedom, discipline, and love, these all are the basis of our collective life. These all are the elements of our collective life, which he said. And he said that his concept of freedom or socialism was Indian socialism, where socialism or welfare was for the Indian people, was for the people of India. And they were based upon justice, equality, everyone given equal treatment, freedom, liberty, discipline, and love. Social change. Bose was of the view that social reforms and the movement for national freedom in India were inextricably related. As president of the Hooghly District Students' Conference in July 1929, he said that those who imagine they can make their country politically free, leaving its social order untouched, and those who think social change is possible without political freedom belt are wrong. Those who say that social change is only possible when there is political freedom, those people are wrong. But the country should be, to make the country politically free, leaving its social order untouched. One can also make political changes to keep the social order or to keep the social aspect untouched or without any changes. He explains that the former were wrong because once the desire for freedom was aroused in the people, it could not be postponed on the ground that society had not changed. So once people were aroused that they wanted freedom, they wanted independence, so they could not be made to wait on the ground that society has not changed. So how could the concepts of freedom could occur? So these concepts or these things cannot be told to the society. The technique of national and social revolution, guerrilla warfare. In a broadcast over Azad Hind Radio, Subhash Bose chalked out his methodology of national struggle. He said that the campaign was going on in India was non-violent guerrilla warfare. He asserted that the object of this guerrilla warfare would be twofold, one to destroy war production in India and the other to paralyze the British administration, and all people of India should participate in the struggle. He chalked out a detailed program for the people. So a detailed program was given to the people, and a guerrilla warfare need to be organized. Guerrilla warfare means hiding and then hitting on the people, but it has to be non-violent. It cannot be violent. Hiding and then doing war. But again, that has to be non-violent. He suggested that payment of the taxes be stopped, which directly or indirectly brought revenue to the government. So there should not be any payment of the taxes also, which were only bringing revenue to the government. Bose and Fascism. Bose has been called a believer in fascism. This assumption arose from the fact that he wanted to associate India's freedom struggle with Second World War politics and sought the help of fascist Italy and Nazi Germany. Fascist Italy, where there was also no democracy, where the people were also suppressed and their rights and liberties were oppressed, and only the ruler could take the decisions. He also showed his admiration for Mussolini. Besides, in a chapter, Glimpse of the Future in his book, The Indian Struggle, he wrote, in spite of the antithesis between communism and fascism, there are certain traits common to both. Both communism and fascism believe in the supremacy of the state over the individual. Both denounce parliamentary democracy. So both say that parliamentary democracy is not correct, and there's an antithesis between communism and fascism, but they say there are some traits which are also common to both. So these are about Subhash Chandra Bose ideas and his methodology and what he did to give India independence, and also the way he made India's independence possible, the guerrilla warfare and everything else. So that was all in the session. These are some of the questions. You have to do it yourself. Question number 1, discuss Bose's views on nationalism. What arguments did he give in support of Swadeshi? Question number 2, what is the technique of national revolution according to Subhash Bose? Thank you. Happy learning. We learning.